Hello people, how's it going? Scotty. So those of you may remember a video I done in response to Maoist rebel news, and of course the video was basically debunking his argument on Nazi Germany apparently being capitalist. I also done a video response to one of his videos on pricing, and I completely destroyed him on that. And this young boy is a follower of Maoist rebel news, basically Jason Inaru, so this boy's come back with this response here.
Well, Jason asked me in this video, so I'm going to do it. And because Jason said he was not going to do any more replies to Scotty M, so I guess I'll fill in because Mason's in limbo for a little bit.
And it's basically for this reason that I wanted to do this video response.
I'm no communist, I'll tell you that right now. I believe a man should own his own house and car and cow. I like this private ownership, I want to be left alone. Let the government run its business and let me run my own.
So let's just cut to the chase and get to basically the first thing that he hits out with.
Scotty, the statement you make right here,
you know, supply and demand, he doesn't understand consumer demand, is the very fact you cannot force consumers to buy such goods. So what happens is when you raise the price of something, demand falls. If you lower the price of something, demand goes up. This is the very reason why during Black Friday, when Black Friday you saw the prices fall, the demand went up. When Black Friday ended and the prices went back up, demand fell.
is bullshit.
So immediately right off the bat, his childish response is that it's bullshit, that the laws of supply and demand is bullshit. It's not bullshit, it's just something that he's just completely economically illiterate to. He just doesn't understand basic economics. You see, where the argument basically stemmed from was to do with the general election. SNP had wiped the floor in Scotland, and of course Nicola Sturgeon's argument to Nigel Farage, this is the laughable part, her argument was 300,000 people are flooding into the country, but she insisted that she would build 100,000 homes.
Well, Fiona, I think housing is possibly one of the biggest issues in this election campaign. In Scotland we have a target of 30,000 affordable houses by 2016. We're on track to meet that. We're also considering rent caps to help people in the private rented sector. But I think we need to go much, much further. SNP MPs in the House of Commons would vote for a target of 100,000 affordable homes a year across the UK.
Remarkable. We are talking about a market, folks. I know none of you have ever worked in business, but we're talking about a market. And markets are about demand and supply. And I just wonder, I'm curious, could I get any recognition from any of you that the demand side of this equation is that a rapidly rising population due to open-door immigration, started by Ed Miliband's Labour Party in the late 1990s, has directly contributed towards the housing crisis. Is there any flicker of recognition from any of you?
Do the maths. If you're letting 300,000 people into the country, but you're only building 100,000 homes, then of course the cost of housing is going to go up. I had also done a video on pricing on Jason Inaru, and I basically ripped him apart more or less on supply and demand, and I will of course do that again because the video is gone now, but basically this is where everything is stemmed from, and this is why this boy has come out with all this nonsense that, you know, supply and demand is apparently bullshit. If the laws of supply and demand is complete and utter bullshit, then, you know, why don't you just use the same logic for, of course, the laws of gravity? Why doesn't he just do us all a favour and just walk off a cliff? But no, I'm not exactly that nasty, but you get the point. You can of course check out my video that I done on pricing, and I did cover this point. Just briefly, as a prime example that I had gave, you know, at the end of the day, if you've got a large quantity of something, you know, there's less demand for it. Therefore, because there's less demand, there's a lower cost. It's the very same thing if you've got a scarcity of something, there's less of it to go around, therefore there's going to be a higher demand and of course a higher cost. Now, this was something that was a perfect example when we looked at supply and demand with regards to Black Friday. Black Friday was one of these days that, you know, leading on up to Christmas, people were in need of presents, especially at a time when people are struggling and their children are wanting things and all the rest of this, and they need to get, you know, presents for their family. Well, it just so happened to be that when Black Friday came about and the prices fell, demand went up. I mean, that's just the basic laws of supply and demand. But when Black Friday ended, the prices went back up and the demand fell. Now, this is something this boy could not comprehend, and you can hear this here.
Because you claim that Black Friday is the only time for capitalism in the world. Not counting that the entire month of Black Friday is like anarcho-capitalist with like Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, maybe occasionally it could be Ramadan if these have changed every month. Chinese New Year's, and also going all the way to Valentine's Day. What the fuck are you talking about?
So of course it's laughable that this boy comes out and says this. I don't know what he was meaning about, you know, anarcho-capitalist stand. It's just, it made no sense, because at the end of the day we don't have anarchy. Do we have a capitalist system today? No, we haven't. So of course we do have certain elements of capitalism today. There's no doubting that. We haven't had a capitalist system for well over 100 years. Arguably in the United States, you would say it's probably prior to 1860, prior to the years of Abraham Lincoln. So, you know, that was probably around about that period when America was largely capitalist. Even then things weren't exactly black and white, because there were still elements of government interference with regards to the internal improvements, etc., and the protectionist tariffs they tried to lay on. But if you were to look at things from a scale, then of course we do have a certain element of capitalism with the exchange in the marketplace, and of course a strong element of socialism.
A city on fire, that's become the common scene in Stockholm, where riots have raged for a fifth night in a row. Young people in immigrant suburbs of the city have torched cars, smashed windows, set buildings ablaze, and the violence has sparked a debate on Sweden's open immigration policy, which has resulted in an influx of asylum seekers who many say refuse to integrate. This report now filed by RT correspondent Peter Oliver.
But what this has basically bred is this system of corporatism as a result of government intervention. I also done a video which you can check out if you haven't seen it yet. I've done a video on corporatism, so I highly recommend that you check that out, because I did explain a lot on that, which is very educational. It gives you the information as to how corporatism basically comes about. So the boy doesn't really understand the basic laws of supply and demand. He doesn't understand the whole issue of what I've explained about, you know, Black Friday. And in this circumstance, it was in relation to do with the minimum wage laws, basically a price floor, from what we've seen in the United States with the raise of minimum wage to $15. He doesn't understand that by raising the minimum wage basically up, when price goes up, demand goes down. So in other words, when the price of the lower skilled workers, after all, the wage of a lower skilled worker, when their wages are risen, that is the price to the employer. Now, what is most important to take from this is the fact that an employee, or basically shall I say the employer, has to see that his employees are going to be of greater value than the cost. And unfortunately, in most cases, what ends up happening is a result of government artificially raising the price of these lower skilled workers. You either find lower skilled workers end up getting paid off, or of course, to compensate for it, the business may raise the costs of their produce. In other words, they're going to hurt the poor either way. And this is something that a lot of these people don't understand. Another thing you have to take into consideration is the fact that businesses are not black and white. They're not all at the same level. They don't all have the same income level. Not all of them can afford. And you do get these certain people who have this attitude where they say, oh well, if you can't afford to pay it, then of course you shouldn't have a business. Well, if that's the attitude, then all you're doing is raising the unemployment level. Because that's essentially what's happening. You're destroying all of these smaller businesses. And when you destroy all the smaller businesses, you're basically opening yourself up to a bigger form of corporatism. So it's laughable, but but yeah, you get the point. Alright people, if you like my video, feel free to like the video below, share the video, favourite, and of course you can subscribe as well. Don't forget to check out 2 of my other videos as well. My other 2 videos, one debunking Red Scare TV and another on the oxymoron itself, libertarian socialist rants. I know you'll love that one, so if you haven't seen them already, you can check them out, and of course feel free to subscribe and share and all the rest of it. Thank you for watching the video, and I shall talk to you later. And don't forget, I will of course have a part 2 coming up very soon on this video, so hope you've enjoyed it. I'll talk to you later. Cheers.